Welcome to the sorting and a more in-depth look at our sorting hat spreadsheet. We are still in part 2. In the last video, we took a quick tour through the spreadsheet, highlighting major parts and features so you can get it up and running. In this video, we're going to go on a little behind-the-scenes tour with the goal of gaining a better understanding of the tools that we can use to balance our house assignments, as well as how to filter and sort our results to make them easier to read. So we'll start with balancing. Once you start getting form submissions from your students, there's a good chance your breakdown at the 4 houses will look very different from the one listed here. As such, it's important for you to be very comfortable with the available tools. Now, how balanced you want your assignments to be is up to you. I made the tools, but it's your choice on how you use them. Now, if you remember from last time, our 3 main tools to help us with balance are score factors, question weights, and the Numbers tab that contains instrument and grade level balance charts. So let's go more in depth with each of these tools. First off, once you send the Google form to your students, you will have the option to wait on sending automatic emails until the majority of your students have finished filling out the form. I highly recommend this so you can truly dial in the house assignments first, and I'll go over how to do that in a later video. If you do choose to wait for your responses and you want to get as accurate a set of house assignments as possible, do the following. Set all your score factors to 0, and then switch to the question weights tab, and then adjust the weights of all the questions, raising the number if they're more balanced answer choices, lowering it if it tends to favor 1 or 2 houses over the rest. And once you get this pretty close and you like it, then you can go back to your form responses, adjust the score factors for your results. Now with the question weight adjustments, when you're changing these, you're going to see the updates on the chart and the updates on the ties. And these breakdowns here are ones that I've done in the past as my results came in from my sample data. So feel free to copy and paste one of these sets up and try it out. If that doesn't work or you don't like it, try a different one. Switch them out until you get it the way you like. Now, there's no perfect sorting quiz, so don't stress if you can't get a perfect balance from changing the question weights. Just get it close. Once you're comfortable with the numbers and you get the score factors the way you want, then you're going to be as close as you can probably get. As more results come in, feel free to shift these numbers as needed. That's what they're there for. Now, once you have the overall settings dialed in, it's time to break ties and finalize the assignments with a focus beyond just balancing the houses. That's where the Numbers tab is going to come in. So now for this practice session, we're going to go to this 3.0 here and change that to a larger number, like a 10. So you have a lot more ties are flagged. Now let's go to the Numbers tab. And we're going to go section by section, working on balancing as many as we can. Let's start with the biggest and most important sections. Grade level. Now, I don't have any 9th graders, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So I can see the biggest issue right now is that 7th grade doesn't have a lot of representation in Impact House, so we can afford to put a few more there if we have to break a tie. So let's go to our form responses. Now we want to filter by our 7th graders. So I'm going to open up where I can see the second column grouping, where I can see my 7th grade and instrument. So this little triangle here is a filter. So I'm going to click on it, and you can sort this, you can filter, but the default one that's usually open is filter by values. That's the best one. I'm going to hit clear to clear these check marks. I'm going to put a new check mark on 7th grade and hit OK. And now it filtered the entire list for 7th grade. With the exception, you notice at the bottom here, some of these didn't quite get caught by the filter. And that can sometimes happen when you have a filter that is put in and then you get form responses later. Sometimes those new responses don't get caught by the filter. And you can see that by this little line going across right here. Okay, that just shows where the filter has stopped. So the best way I've found to fix that is to simply go in, delete the previous filter, and put in a new one. So we're going to go to Data, Remove Filter, And then we're going to highlight our heading row again and put a new one in, create filter. Let's put back on our 7th grade filter, clear in 7th grade, hit OK. And there we go, updated filter. So you might need to do that after your form responses come in if you are messing with filters and sorting. Speaking of sorting, I'm going to go in and sort by house here as well if I want. And I can see them grouped by their houses. Okay, but for this, I don't need to do that. I'm going to undo. I simply want to get a couple more kids in 7th grade into Impact. I have a lot more in Serenade, so if I need to, I can move some from there. So scan across. Looking for any high scores on Impact. I see one right here, right out of Serenade, so I'm going to double click and put them in Impact House. And I'm going to break the tie. And that's fixed. That's one more there. And what about any of these other ones? This one is in Spark versus Impact. That one is there. So pretty much that's probably the only other one I can do. So let's just double check that this is a good fit for this trumpet player. So we're going to scroll to the right. And I'm going to open up these columns. Because remember, this is the choices the kids made on the quiz. And so for some cases, you may want to actually look at their answers to see if it's a good fit. So with that open, I'm going to highlight row 32, which is that kid. I'm going to scroll to the right and just read their responses and see what fits. And I'm checking between Impact and Spark. Okay, that's an Impact right there. That's a Bravura. And the more you do this, the more you'll start to understand what the answers are. Again, this is completely optional if you want to go this in depth. All right, so I think they could fit into Impact House pretty well. So we're going to go and this one, click Impact. And let's see how our balance looks now. And anytime you make an assignment that you're good with, go and delete the tie. That way you don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, 7th grade looks a little bit better. I could still use more in that direction, but that's at least better than it was. So let's go ahead and take care of the rest of our 7th grade assignments. So this one, we definitely don't want to put any more in Serenade. That one's good. That one's good. What about right here? Oh, that's definitely done. And this one's pretty close between these two. So let's see what our numbers look like. Pretty even. So let's just keep that where it is. All right, our 7th grade is set. So I'm going to clear the filter by selecting all, and that puts all these back on, hit OK, and all my students are listed again. Now the same works with instruments. So we can filter by instruments as well. Let's pick an instrument that needs some balance. I'm going to say probably trumpets. We could put a few more there. So we're going to go back here, click on instrument, and here's all the choices. So I just want trumpets. So I'm going to clear trumpet. Okay. Now, I don't have very many that signed up on the list yet, so if more come in, that will help with fixing the balance issues. But let's just see if there's any that are leaning more towards Serenade. There's one right there. So Malcolm, we could switch to Serenade. I'm going to leave Malcolm alone for now because I've got a demonstration for him later. But this one, that one actually didn't get flagged because that was a 7th grader. We put them in Impact, didn't we? So this is kind of the game you're going to have to play is see, okay, well, what's better? What's worse? Having less in the grade level, representation in the instrument. Okay, you decide what's important. This is your show. Okay, but you can get the idea. So I'm going to turn all those filters back off. So the important thing is to make sure that before you send emails, get all the ties broken, get all the assignments set where you want them, and your balance numbers to be the way you want. But remember the whole point of the project. Are the kids going to feel like they belong to their house? Will that belonging translate into higher participation in your program? Well, I certainly hope so. That's why I'm doing it with mine. A perfect balance will never happen, but if you can get close, that will help ensure whatever competitions you do will be fair and fun for the kids and for you. Now, I've got one more tool to show you, and it's hiding right here. So click on the All Sheets button and open up the Imported Student List tab. Now, this is a simple pre-built way for you to track who in your program has and has not filled out the Sorting Hat quiz. So just paste in your student list here and get them to be in the same format as you have on your form responses. So last name, comma, first name, and then paste in whatever other information you want to help track, if you want to track instrument or grade level or class period. Then if they show up on the form, it'll be marked here. Now, the one thing you'll need to periodically check is that the spelling of the names on the form exactly matches the spelling on your list. So if, for example, a kid types their name in like this. So if they have an extra initial that they decide to put in, or maybe they have a longer version of their name that they put in here that is not on your list, or vice versa, that will create problems. So earlier, John Smith was listed here, and it marked them down as Bravura. Now go in at the E. Now they're not. Same is true here. What if Malcolm was just Mal on your list? They're not going to show up here. So we need to be able to know that they're on this list, but not marked. Now, you could just sort this. You could just look through it and see that kid and know, okay, that's different. But there's an easier way to do it automatically. So if you want to learn a new Google Sheets tool, I want you to try this with me. We're going to scroll over to the right. And in this column, column CD, it's a blank column that just happens to be in front of the formula copy down status column. And we're going to put some formulas here. Now, if you already have something in here for some reason, you can just add a new column, and that's not going to hurt anything. And you could do it in that column. Okay, but I'm going to undo. So the formula we're going to put here is a COUNTIF formula. So we always start formulas with an equal sign, and then type in COUNTIF, all capitalized. Choose the first one, and it's going to ask us for a range. And the range we're looking for is going to be our student list that we imported. So I want this column here where the names are. I'm going to click at the very top. That puts it in the formula here. I'm going to add a comma. And now the criteria we're looking for is going to be the name on the row we're on. So we're on this third row. So I want the combined last and first name. And then we're going to hit close parentheses. And for now, we're going to X that out. So we have a 0 here because it's saying it cannot find this name on our list. So let's copy, Control C, Command C, and paste down to Johnny Stewart. Now you notice that Johnny is on our list. I can confirm that here. Okay, so the 0s and 1s are great, but those don't really give us the information that's going to help us. So we're going to do one extra formula. I'm going to wrap this formula here inside of an if statement. So I'm going to type in if, open parentheses. Now I want to check the logical expression. If this COUNTIF formula produces a 0, if it's equal to 0, then comma. If it's true, I want to put the word no in all caps in this cell. And I can already see a preview of what my results are going to be here. So that's good. Hit a comma. If it is not a 0, meaning there is the name on both, let's just leave it blank because we don't need to worry about that. Close parentheses. All right, there's our no. Now we're going to copy this formula here, paste it on Johnny, and it's blank. That's great. That's perfect. So now we just need to get this formula to be used throughout the spreadsheet. The way we do that for incoming results, of course, is we need to put it in row 2. So I'm going to copy right here, paste right here. You notice it changed the reference, and here it's H3, here it's H2. Okay, and so for all new results, this is going to now be affected. But let's make sure this covers all of our results. So I'm going to hit copy there, scroll to the very bottom, find my last set, and highlight it all, paste. Now, if I click on any of these cells, there's a formula that's in there. Scroll back to the top. So we have 2 kids we can see are highlighted as no's. That's Malcolm and that's John. So that's great that the no's are right here, but that doesn't really help us when we're looking at our spreadsheet with all these things hidden. So we need a way to highlight if this says no. That's where a conditional formatting comes in. So I'm going to highlight column H, and I'm going to go up to this fill color button and hit conditional formatting. Okay, and there's other ways you can get there. You can right click and go to conditional formatting. You can go to format and go to conditional formatting. Okay, it all takes you here. Now we already have a custom formula in there that's for the ties. Let's add another one. And under this drop down, go to the very bottom and hit custom formula. We're going to type in an equal sign, and we want to check and see what is in this column. So I'm going to go CD colon CD. So we're checking if this column is equal to the word no. Then it will highlight the cell in this column. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's change our color. I like to use that one for this. Okay, I mean, you can do any color you want. Now, the only problem here is that it's only that one cell. I want to actually get this to look at more than just the last name cell. So let's spread this out here. So H, first H, we're going to change to F. And then let's make the farthest side column K. I'm going to click down here. Okay, and then we need to change this CD. So if you put a $sign in front of the column names, it locks this reference range to apply to every column in this range, which it just did. Okay, great job. Now, but we're only missing one thing, aren't we? Let's hide that for a second. As we can see that Malcolm was a no, right? Scroll to the right. So Malcolm was also listed, so he's not highlighted. So I want to make sure that this highlight supersedes the tie highlight. Simple way to do that is you just drag the bottom one up, and that's the number 1 color coding that's going to happen. All right, so that looks pretty good. Close. Now remember, any changes you make to row 2 will need to be saved in the copy down add-on. So you go to extensions, open up copy down settings, and it'll detect if there's been any changes of formatting or formulas in row 2. If so, this button will turn bright blue. Just click Save Settings again. And when that turns a light blue, you're good to close and continue on. I'm going to close that, scroll back to the left, and hide that again. Now that we can clearly see which names don't match up, it's our job to fix that. So you can do it 2 ways. You either change under the blue column where they inputted, or you change it on your imported list so that that one matches. Now we shouldn't have any more bad highlights. So all we have left to do is to break all the ties so that we're ready to send emails. And that's it. The tour is now complete. Thanks for sticking with me through all the details. Now, if you haven't already done so, head on to video 3 to continue the tutorial. Thanks again, and best of luck with sorting your students into the 4 houses.